I do you now?
Hello, everyone. Hi. Can see everyone joining. We have our host in the building, on the call, in this case. I think we'll get started right now. Can everyone hear me okay? Yes. Okay, great.
Now that
welcome, everyone. Good to see everyone here. All right, thanks, Slams. Welcome everyone to another exciting City of Lane webinar session. Today we'll be having none other than Doyin Lawal with us, joining us to share some insights on something that is really, really important as like MBA hopefuls, students, or anyone who has like an interest to do that in the future. And Adedoyin is going to also facilitate some of the questions, but I just want to use like this opportunity to welcome our guest and give us a brief overview of what City of Lane is about. For those of you who, if this is your first session with us at City of Lane, welcome, welcome. City of Lane is more than a community. Is more than, it's right now for me, it's more than even a family of people who are like-minded and have that dream and the vision to create an Africa that we want. So I'm going to share my screen very briefly as I kind of work us through some of the things that City of Lane is about. So our vision is to build an economically and politically inclusive Africa that is self-perpetuating. And part of how we do this is equipping young Africans to identify, support, and execute like practical ventures by enabling them to, take their dreams to where they want to take it. And our vehicle for this is the MBA program. We aim to empower 1,000 young Africans to get into top global 150 MBA programs in 7 years. And that's one of our strategic goals. How we've built this over time is, ensuring that we have a very strong community across all different African countries that, join the community. And we've been able to do this successfully well by imbibing some of our guiding principles, which is selflessness, understanding that that shared vision of Ubuntu, like we are because we are together, is really, really important to us. So as you want to join Lane, you have to have that notion of being selfless, embracing our differences, understanding that creativity and the inclusivity that we all bring to the table as being diverse individuals. and being very accountable for our actions. So who are you? You're an African who lives in Africa and knows what it is to be in Africa. You're 21, between 21 and 38. We're not really, really strict on that upper range, but being 21 means that at least you probably have graduated from undergrad. You're also self-motivated and academically qualified for an MBA. You can join us. We'll be dropping some links in the chat function whilst the session is going on, to our link tree, our website, and like joining our social media handles. Right now, we are, as at the last time this was updated, we were about 1,469 members strong. And we are represented across 5 different countries. So Lane is a very, very increasingly diverse community of Africans. We're also very proud to say that we have at least 40% of, our membership to be female. And, some of our members have, worked here in different multinational organizations and have gained admission to different schools across different continents. So this vision of Lane is one thing that we try to share every webinar so that we understand like the reason why we're here, and not to take this for granted, understanding that our speaker has taken time off of their busy schedule to be here with us. And I would just allow Doyin to take this from here. And thank you everyone for joining the session. Please bring out your notepads and your journals and take copious notes. I'll also implore everyone joining to please ensure that your mics are on mute so that we can have a seamless session. Thank you so much, Doyin, for joining. Doyin, over to you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Franklin, for that introduction. Like, it's really a wonderful work we're doing here at Lane, and we're excited to have Doyin Lawal here with us. So today's topic is becoming a storyteller for your MBA essay. And that's like really one I'm particularly interested in, because when you're going through MBA processes, you've gone through writing your GRE, the application process, you're now on to writing your essays. Like, it's really, for some people, it's a hard also to actually do. Okay, hi Doyin, thank you for joining us today. I'll allow you to introduce yourself. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, hi, nice meeting you. Let me just first acknowledge how difficult it is to have 2 Doyins. We have the same name, Adedoyin, so
yeah, exactly.
Apologies in advance for the confusion some of you may have when they say Adedoyin or Doyin. We both of us speaking on the call, so I totally acknowledge that. And nice meeting you, namesake. Yeah, hi, my name is Doyin, and how do I introduce myself? I did an MBA, so went through the entire process. Okay, let's take it back. I'm Nigerian, grew up in Lagos, worked in Lagos my entire life, moved to the US for a little over 4 years ago for my MBA. Did my MBA at Yale, graduated in 2020. I currently work at Bain and Company as a consultant. I've been at Bain for 2 years. I am outside of Bain. I work a lot with students, and I have a company, business, whatever you want to call it, that I run to prepare people for grad school, and working with a lot of students going into the MBA program is something that I'm always excited about. So that's a bit about me. I live in Seattle, Washington. I have a husband and a baby. So I just had a baby. She's 7 months old. So I don't know if I can still say just had a baby. Yeah. Okay. So that's my intro.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Yeah. So I think we'll just get into the question. We've said becoming a storyteller for your MBA. What does it actually mean to tell your stories? What does that entail?
Awesome. So maybe I can share my one slide. So to drive the points home, I just have one slide for this conversation that you guys can stare at. And I'll just say, if you don't take anything from this conversation, take 3 things from this conversation. So let me share my screen really quickly. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, we can.
I need to present, I hope. Okay. Do you guys still see it? Okay. Or you don't see it the right way?
We can see a thing.
But you see it's really small by the side, so I'll just present my PowerPoint. It's fine. You guys can see my PowerPoint. I think this is clearer. So
yes, it is.
This is the main point when you are writing an MBA essay. An MBA essay is a marketing tool. So from the beginning of your MBA, of like writing essays for whatever school you're applying to, just have this at the back of your mind, you are marketing yourself. So like always remember that I am marketing myself. And like I feel like having worked with many people going through the MBA process, people forget that it is purely marketing. You need to know how to market yourself, and that's where storytelling comes in. It's purely a marketing tool. It's a tool for you to share your experience, share your story, share why you're motivated, all of that. But you're not just sharing stories, you're sharing stories that market you. And you just need to remember that, like when you're writing those essays, and no matter the question the school is asking, no matter, you know, even if you're applying to 5 schools, every school market yourself. That's what the essay is about, and that's purely it. So that's your goal. And when you think about football, what they call soccer here for some reason, but when you think about football, you and you think about like your goal when you go to a match or when you're playing is to sort of like score, like have goals, score goals. Your goal with your MBA application or with your essays, when you're writing your essays, is just to prove to the school or prove to the admissions committee you're a great candidate and you deserve a seat in the class. And that's it. That's everything you're doing with that essay. And so like, to answer, so I can stop sharing. That's my one screen that I wanted to share. So you guys have that at the back of your mind. So to kind of answer the question directly, like what does it mean to tell stories for your essay? So I was thinking about this in terms of like 3 things that I think you should absolutely have in mind. And, you know, the first one is the most important one that I just shared, which is that the essay is a marketing exercise. And like, what does this mean? What does writing essays, sharing your personal stories in a way that markets you, what does this mean? The first thing you need to think about when you're writing your essay and using it as a marketing tool for you is that you need to share why you're different. Difference is very important to MBA programs, especially like top programs in the world. And this is what I mean by difference. People, a lot of thousands of people are applying to the same school. And the job of the admissions committee is to kind of form that class of 400 people, some schools 200, some schools 300, whatever that is. Their job is to form the best 300 people they can find. Their job is not to form a class with the best student from the world or the best student from, like, they're not looking for one great student. They're looking for as a whole, as these 300 people, this is the best combination of people we can find for this school that are great fit for this school. So you need to show that you're different and you deserve a seat in that class. So if there are 100 people applying with the exact same background, they likely can't pick more than 5 of those 100 people. So even though you have the same background as people, you need to think as you're writing your essay, how can I still show that I am different? And we can go into a lot more detail about that. So that's the first thing you need to think about, like when you're writing, when you're sharing your story, what stories do I need to share that would sort of like show that I'm different and I deserve a spot in this class. So I'll pause there and like let Adedoyin like keep asking questions.
That's fine. Like that was really helpful. I think in Africa, yeah, something about marketing is usually very hard for us to market ourselves and sell ourselves and say, yes, we are good, we deserve this spot. And this
we
is
feel
something
like we're bragging.
Yes, exactly. So it's something we really need to learn. So, okay, that brings me to my next question. So in terms of telling your stories, like, why am I different? How do we actually tell that story? So how do you tell the authentic story from your essays?
Yeah. I'll think about that in terms of like a couple of things you need to do before you like start putting pen to paper, like before you start writing the actual essay. Couple of things you need to do. First is you need to always remember this goal I'm talking about. Like, my goal is to prove to this school that I'm a great candidate. The second thing you need to think about is sort of like, what does this school care about? Each MBA program, they care about different things, and you can find what they care about through so many platforms. The kind of stories they share on their Instagram page, there's always a theme to the kind of, it could be student stories, it could be news they're sharing about the school. They always share stories revolving around a certain theme. Each school, Stanford is very different from Harvard in terms of like what they care about. You need to find what each school cares about. Some schools will tell you we care about merging business and environment, or business and society. Some schools will say we care about bringing in people that are very entrepreneurial. Even if you've never been an entrepreneurial person, you think there's a way you can craft your story to fit that. So you need to find what each school cares about. The third thing is then you need to think about like, what parts of my experience exemplifies this the most? Like, what part of my experience would help any human being or anybody reading my essay to feel like I've connected me to what this school cares about? So that's something you need to think about, because for everyone reviewing your essay, they are always thinking about, would this person be a good fit in this school? Not whether you are overall like an amazing candidate or like you're smart. That's not really what they're thinking about when they're reading your essay. Remember, they've seen your GRE score, they've seen your GPA. When they're reading your essay, they're not really thinking, is this person smart? That's not the only thing they're thinking about. That's not really what they're thinking about. They're thinking about, does this person deserve a seat in this class? Will this person fit into our school system? So you need to think about those things when you're thinking of like sharing your story. So I guess like, yeah, that's it. I'll stop there.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for that. So after going through this thought process, having your steps, your thoughts out, what are the steps we take to actually start writing the essay? Like,
Yeah. So when you want to write your essay, think about your essay in paragraphs. And it could be 2 paragraphs in one, that's not, but think about it in buckets. The first is your opening paragraph. Your opening paragraph must be extremely powerful. That is the most important thing you write in that essay, because what you are doing, remember, these people are reviewing thousands of essays in weeks. So think about that for a moment. Divide that like by how, and come to the conclusion on how many minutes they will spend on your own essay. They spend very little time on each person's essay. The goal of your first paragraph is to make sure whoever is reading my essay would continue, would get so interested they'll continue. And you want to lose people in your essay. You want people to be so lost in your story. So your first paragraph must be very, very powerful. That's the first thing you need to do. Your first paragraph, I can talk about like what you should be there or whatever, but
yeah.
most important thing is it, it has to be very, very like powerful. And I'm not saying you have to share something deeply personal. You have to share your personal story. It doesn't have to be something that's very private to you. It could be if you feel like sharing, but that first paragraph should be like, when I read it, I just want to like know this person more. Like, who is this person? That kind of effect is what you should have in your first paragraph. And I can use specific essay topics to kind of bring this home at some point today, if you guys want. Like use maybe a Stanford essay, Harvard essay, whatever that is, and talk about what your first paragraph should really be like. The second thing is, so when you've thought about that first paragraph, another paragraph, and this doesn't, I'm just thinking in buckets. So the second bucket, let's say, should be why you should be something about like motivation. So these schools have seen your scores and all those things, but they're looking for something extra. So you want to share a bit about like your motivation without saying, man, I'm the best thing since sliced bread. Without saying that, you kind of say it with a story. Like, this is why I'm deeply motivated about this MBA. Schools know people apply to multiple MBA programs they don't even care about. But what you can do differently is to show that I'm very, very, like, I care a lot about this school. So that's one thing you need to do in your next couple of paragraphs. The next bucket of things you need to do is to show what I'll call, like, it's kind of your own advertisement, your achievements, not in the way you've written them in your resume, but in a different way. Say the story behind the achievement. Why is it that this achievement is so important to you that you had to write it in this essay? Is it because it touched someone's life? Is it because you achieved something that when you were growing up, you thought you could never achieve? Like, you need to show the story behind your achievement. And the fourth bucket, when you're writing your essay, should be saying something like, guys, I know you. Like, you should do a lot of research about each school and find something that would deeply resonate with the person that's reading your essay. And what I mean by that is, you've done so much research about the school that you know where exactly you think you can plug in when you get in. So something like a club you think you'll join, something like a leadership position you think you'll take in the school, something like someone you spoke with that really changed your mind about the school, something that just shows I didn't just go to the first page of your website. I dug a little deeper. Those are the four things you absolutely must have in your MBA essay, irrespective of the kind of question they've asked you. And we can, like, talk about, use one of the schools as an example to kind of drive this home a bit.
Yeah. Thank you so much for this. I think that actually leads me to my next question, which you've already mentioned. So usually schools have like different essay prompts, you get different questions. So how can we interpret a school's essay prompt?
Yeah, I think that is one very important thing, because many schools ask you a question and you don't know the question behind the question. Your job when you find any essay prompt for MBA programs is to ask, what are they really asking? You need to find the question behind the question. When Stanford asks you, what matters most to you and why? That's not what Stanford is asking you. Stanford is really asking you what matters most to you and how. It is the how Stanford is really asking you. Stanford wants you to show, this thing matters to me, and these are the 5 ways I have shown in my life that this thing matters to me. But the part people miss for the Stanford essays, they don't write the how. They write, this matters and why. They don't write the how. The real question Stanford is asking, where you should spend 90% of your words when you're writing Stanford's essay, is the how. When Yale asks, like, what is your biggest commitment? They don't care what your commitment is. And I've explained this to people so many times. Yale doesn't care whether you say my commitment is to make my mom happy. They don't care. They want to see that you've been committed to at least one thing in your life, and you've shown by your actions that you are committed to that thing. They don't care. And when I used to work with the admissions team, people write random things and you'll be shocked. People write, my biggest commitment is to make sure my sisters get an education. They don't care. It's not really that thing. Oh, my biggest commitment is to one day win an Olympic medal. It's like anything. That's not what they care about. They care about how you have shown that you are committed to something. So your job when you find any essay prompt, especially that first essay, some schools have 2 essays where one will be about one random question that seems so vague. For that question, always ask, what are they really asking? Why would Stanford care about what matters to me? Stanford doesn't care about what matters to you. It could be your dad, it could be your boyfriend or your girlfriend. They don't care. What they really care about is how you have shown something matters to you. So I guess the summary is always try to understand what is behind this essay that they really want me to talk about.
Okay. Thank you so much. Yeah, so in terms of actually looking at the essay prompt, so where we have what is your biggest commitment, and you've mentioned we need to go through the opening paragraph, motivation, achievement. Where will you fit that into? Which of the buckets?
Will you fit, like, what is your biggest commitment?
Exactly.
Okay. So if someone asks me like what is like I'm writing an essay for like what is your biggest commitment or what matters most to you, the way I'll start my essay is I'm making this thing up, guys. Don't quote me.
It's fine.
But the way I'll start that essay is something like 5 years ago, my grandma was admitted to Lagos University Teaching Hospital. And while I was visiting her, I found a pregnant woman who lost her baby because the electricity went off, something like that. In that moment, I realized that I had found a new passion. I'm deeply committed to making sure women have access to very good healthcare, something like that, and then stop your paragraph. What that person reading your essay would do is like this is so powerful. And that was just one random event in your life that changed you and how you see the world and like what you want to do with your career. The way you would end that paragraph is, in that moment and in the years following, I made a commitment to, dedicate the rest of my career to creating opportunity for women to access healthcare that, they otherwise wouldn't have had. Something like that. Or my commitment is to reduce child mortality rates in Lagos. Something like that, right? So the point is, when you start your essay with that story, you've kind of said your commitment, but you didn't just say my biggest commitment is fighting for women or ensuring women have access. You've shared kind of like how you got to that point, a story that makes the person want to say, so what did this person do afterwards? That kind of thing. And then your next paragraphs, you now talk about, even though at this time I had graduated from college or from university, I decided I wanted to begin to work in hospital systems, even though my background was in business. They're like, oh, this person worked in healthcare, even though she didn't study anything medicine related. You see how you're already winning them over? And that's what I'm saying. You've already shared your difference because you worked in a hospital system with a business background. That's not where most people with business backgrounds work. They work in consulting, they work in, finance, things like that. But you decided to go to healthcare. You see what I'm saying? And then you spend the next paragraphs or book, words talking about what you saw when you were working in the healthcare system and how, after 5 years working at Pfizer or 5 years working at this hospital as an administrator in Lagos, I discovered I needed to really understand the strategy behind the decisions healthcare practitioners make. And so I'm pursuing my MBA because I believe an MBA will give me a well-rounded education to really contribute to the healthcare system. You see how you've made that one single story that you saw at Luth become something bigger. You get what I'm saying? And now at this point, you've told the school, I'm committed to this. Because I was committed, I changed the course of my career to work in healthcare. And because I was committed, I stayed in healthcare for 5 years. And because I'm committed, I want to do an MBA program and return to something in healthcare, but in a bigger role. You see, that way you that's a struggle with Zoom calls. But anyway, that way you've kind of said the how, and you've tied your decision to apply to this MBA program to your commitment. That's the part people miss. You have to tie that, your decision to apply to this Stanford, to that commitment you made years ago. So that is how you write your essay, and kind of at the end, the summary would be that, at the end of your essay, the way you close out that essay is something like, I have read or I've met a couple of students in this program, and they point to the fact that I'll get a lot of leadership opportunities in the healthcare club. And I really am excited about this because I believe that club does these various events or something like that. And this club will really prepare me for the kind of leadership roles I plan to take when I graduate and go back into, the healthcare world. Something like that. That's how you write your essay and bring in commitments or like what you care about. So yeah.
Thank you for that perfect example. I know we can have like different variation of it. Okay, So I was thinking, in terms of personal, sharing personal stories, is there anything too personal to share? I know most times, for example, you could have people saying, "Oh, my parents were, I was so poor growing up. I didn't have food to eat." So what exactly is like going to personal? What can we include? What can
Yeah,
we not?
I have some, do I say tips? Try, please, guys. Don't say things that are cliche. They've read that poverty story 100 times that day. So don't make your own, like if genuinely that's your angle, that's fine. But just know that people have abused that so much, that grass to grace story, people have abused it. Find another angle, even if you want to talk about like grass to grace or like poverty to, getting to this point, find another angle. Your angle could be that we were so poor, my siblings couldn't get an education, and then focus on that education. Don't focus on the poverty anymore. But you've mentioned it. You get what I'm saying? Because men, and
Yeah.
we talk about this a lot when I was with the admissions team, people overuse it. Don't, like, if you, yeah. The way people write on LinkedIn, oh man, I could talk about that all day. But anyway, the point is, try to, even if you mention that poverty story, which is true, it's your story, or you mention that story of being from a very poor background, try to anchor it to something else, that we were so poor, my grandpa died because we couldn't afford to pay for drugs. You get, and then make it about like that healthcare, if you get what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
that's just a side note. But what story is too personal to share? There is no story that's too personal to share. The admissions committee would never share your story with anyone. It's illegal for them to. They will not share it with your classmates or things like that. It dies with them. They read your story, you get the admission, that's it. Because of that, should you lie? No. There are ways, lie. It's hard to lie from beginning of the essay to the end. Somewhere in between, you forget you were lying and you make mistake, except you give it to another liar to proofread. Don't lie, but don't lie, but learn to, how do I say, when you see advertisements on TV, usually all those things they are claiming, it's not like 100% true, but they've learned the power of storytelling, that you can tell your story. Both of us can have the same experience, but I can tell my story in a way that you think that, man, you know, I must be the best thing ever, even though both of us had these similar experiences. So I would say, like, no story is too personal, but remember, you are not just sharing stories. You're sharing stories for a goal. You're sharing the story that will help prove that you deserve a seat in this class. That's it. If your story cannot market you to that point where somebody thinks we must have Doyin in this class, then you've not told a good story. Don't just share something personal or something you think the admissions committee wants to read. I've seen people that what they care about the most is their cat. Yes, or their dog. So it's okay if it's your dog you care about, but kind of how, like, what has caring about your dog, got to do with like what you want right now. Like that power of like, it's beyond my dog, it's beyond my cat, but they have been an inspiration for me to like want this thing. That's what you should share. And feel free to share something very personal that you won't even share with your friend. They won't share it.
No. Okay. Thank you so much. Yeah, if you have any questions, you could drop it in the chat box. We'll try to see if we can get to it. Yeah, so Doyin, you mentioned that you worked with the admission team during your time at Yale. What would you say? I'm sure you had chances to like look at essays, review some people's essay. What did the school usually take into consideration while choosing like the perfect, I don't know, not perfect in a sense, but choosing the essay or choosing the candidates?
Yeah. The way many schools now do it is the person reviewing your essay.
Sorry.
Thank you. The person reviewing your essay, they try to make sure the person hasn't seen your resume to reduce bias. That person reviewing your essay likely hasn't seen your GMAT or GRE score to reduce bias. I know we all we all have biases. So that person reviewing your essay will try to review it independently. But what I've noticed they care about when they are reviewing your essays, one, is it clear this person is very motivated? Because many people, they know that, okay, let me explain what I'm saying. Many essays sound like MBA is the next thing for me. It's the logical next step, which may be true. I'm not like saying that is not true,
Yeah.
but that's never how your essay should come across. Never write your essay like MBA, of course, is the next best thing, next step for me. That's not what they want. They want to, MBA programs want you to write your story as if you designed your life from when you were 1 year old. That's my problem with MBA, like admission, but that's what it is. It's marketing. It's like, oh, when I was choosing to go to this university, I chose because I wanted to do this. It's a lie. You chose that school because you didn't pass JAM or you didn't get the score you wanted. So like, it's not, it's the reality is the life situations that made you end up studying that course in university or that program in university. They are just life events. You didn't plan it that one day I will study veterinary science if that's what you studied. But like, we just have to be real. But MBA programs don't want you to be that real. If you get my point, they don't want you to, they want you to write it like you've designed it since you were age 1. I'll study medicine in school, then I will now graduate and work in this place. Then that's kind of how they want you to write it. So you too, you need to have that at the back of your mind, that this MBA essay is a marketing tool. Just make sure you have that at the back of your mind. So the first thing I've noticed they look out for is motivation. Write as if, man, I'm so motivated about this. I know, that this school or this program is going to like move my career forward. Don't write it like, of course, it's the next step. You get what I'm saying? So that's the first thing. The second thing they look at is, has this person done her research? And that thing like offends every MBA essay reviewer, If your essay comes across like you only went on their website and the first line, I'm applying to Harvard because it's the top program in the world. Duh. Like, we know, like, who doesn't know that? Like, so they'll just cancel you. That's the point I'm making. They want to say that you've done your research. And by research, there are things you can't see on the first page of Harvard, HBS website. So you want to make sure you mention things like if you've spoken with students, if you found something that you thought, this is interesting about the school, maybe a specific professor you went to his or her talk, or a professor that's known for this subject area, but also teaches at HBS. You have to find those things that make HBS different for you, not for the world. Not HBS is the most recognized business school, is the best business school. They already know that one. So you need to find those things and show in your essay that you've done a lot of research. The third thing they look out for is you give examples of how you will fit into their community. MBA programs care a lot about how you fit into their community. When you get into the program, let's say in your essay, you write that you want to join the finance club and lead the club. When you get into the program, nobody cares if you even like finance club, if you even join. Whose business is that one? And I'm not saying you should lie, but I'm just saying nobody checks once you gotten into the program. So they want to see that you in your essay you are mentioning some examples of like how you will fit into their culture. I'm really looking forward to being a part of the Women in Finance Club at this school, because I have a lot of experience leading women clubs and blah blah blah. Now, when you get in, it's a different story. Everything you write in your essay, no human being cross-checks when you get to the school. They don't care. You've passed that one. On to the next, But when you're writing your essay, you want to show that you've given it some thought in terms of like how you fit into the program and what role you will play, that kind of thing. So those are examples of things they look out for.
Oh. Okay. Oh goodness, sorry
Okay.
about that. Yeah. Okay.
I can jump on if you're changing.
All right.
So Doyin is changing system, so I can ask a question. Sorry, I did doing is changing systems, so I'm so
It's
sorry.
fine. It's
Um,
fine.
okay, so one of the questions I was just thinking about from what you were saying is how do you sort of convince admissions beyond getting admitted, right? Funding is another aspect. How do you convince them with your essay or your entire story that you are truly deserving of like a merit-based or a need-based scholarship? Because it's the biggest aspect beyond just getting admitted. Like if
Yes.
an MBA is very expensive. So how do you
Mhm.
sort of story tell in a sense that they see that this person is truly deserving of money, not just getting admitted? Getting through the door is one thing, but the other
Yeah.
aspect is how do you fund your MBA?
Yeah. And I think that's so powerful. Like, that's such an important thing that I feel like many Africans don't think about early enough. When you are thinking about funding, you know your pocket. Even if I get into this awesome school, I need the cash. I need the money. The best time to think about money is before you apply to any schools. And I'll tell you why. First is some schools just have more money. That's it. You need to do your research and say, on average, how many international students that have gone to this school got this kind of funding, blah, blah, blah. Some schools are smaller, they have less endowment, and so they have less money. Let's just face reality before we even get into like the admission process and how you can stand out and make sure they give you money. Let's first talk about the fact that some schools have more money because those schools have crazy endowment funders. So you need to think about that from beginning and choose your school wisely. Now, what you may ask is, but doing the same schools that have money are the most competitive schools. And I tell you, yes, I agree with you. The schools that have a lot of money are also very competitive. Harvard has the highest endowment in America. Yale has the second highest. So as you're choosing schools, let's say you want to apply to 5 schools, choose 2 schools that these guys have money. Yes, it's hard to get in, but they have cash. Choose 2 of those schools, then choose another 2 schools that are maybe safer for you in terms of admission. They may not give you so much money, but they will try. Then choose 2 other schools that are smaller, something like that. So that's something you need to pay attention to from the beginning. If you know that you just don't have the cash, that is one. The second thing is now, like when you are applying, how can you make sure through different parts of your application, you come across as that person they should give very good merit-based funding. Need-based will come back to that, but someone that should get very, very good merit-based funding. You submit your GPA. Let's say your GPA wasn't so high. Maybe you had a GPA of 3.5 out of 5, which when you convert to maybe, depending on what country you're going to, if you're going to the UK, some may use a 5-point scale, some 4. US mostly uses 4-point scale. Just depends on where you're going. But let's say you graduated with a 3.5, 3.4 out of 5. That's not such a high GPA when you think about the top programs in the world, right? You've shown the school your GPA. The second thing is you've shown the school your GMAT score. Let's say your GMAT score was 600 and something. It wasn't the highest. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't the highest. You've shown them that, right? The school is paying attention. But at that point, with just your GPA and your GMAT, you are not really the strongest candidate. This is how you should think about it. The school cares. What you must know is the MBA program cares about you being a strong candidate overall. That is the word you should underline. The school cares about Doyin being a strong candidate overall. They don't care about me being a very academically sound candidate. They care about when I think about academics, experience, quality of education. When I think about all those things, is Doyin a strong candidate overall? That's what the school cares about. So now you've shown them your GPA, you've shown them your GRE or GMAT. You are not really above average for those ones, right? Now you need to write your resume. I know we're talking about storytelling and essays today, but resume is one that many people mess up with. You need to have a very, very powerful resume. In your resume, fill it up with achievements. Don't say anything like responsible for. That's nonsense. Make it something like led this. initiated this, controlled this, increased this. Fill your resume with achievements as much as you can, even in that small place you're working, that small company you're working at. There's a way you can write your resume that it will sound like you have the best experience ever. And that's something you need to learn how to do. And it will be more important to you when you start recruiting in these countries. Recruiting in America is very different from in Nigeria. If you don't know how to brag about your experience, you just will not get the kind of jobs you want. But that story for another day. The point is, for your MBA application, they care about your experience, the quality of your experience. I'll give you an example. If you worked in Guarantee Trust Bank and you were a teller, you were working at the front desk, or you were a teller, something like that, you can write your experience on your resume to sound like the same, like another person that worked at Bank of America or Goldman Sachs. Do you get what I'm saying? And this is how you write it. You don't worked at GTB as a teller, GTB, the biggest, you have to put it in bracket, the biggest company in, or the biggest company in Africa by market capitalization. What have you done? You've told the person GTB to us is equivalent to Bank of America to you. If you don't put that small detail, they minimize your experience. So when you're thinking about funding, you need to think about small details in your application process. So when you move away from, you've shown them your GPA, you've shown them your GMAT score, now you've sent them your resume, the last part and the most important part is your essay. When you're writing your essay, you need to sell yourself in a way that you prove to the school, I'm a very strong candidate. Also in your essay, if you know that there are weaker parts of your application, maybe your GPA wasn't good, find a way to bring that story into your essay. Don't say my GPA is not good though. Say something like you are analytically strong, because what they are testing with your GPA is your analytic skills. Can you do something that with so much academic rigor? That's what they are looking for. Find a way to bring it into your essay. Like, oh, when I worked at this company, I was in charge of analytics and led this team of 5 people and did the most complex model. And what this event taught me was connect it back to your essay. But in your essay, correct, places in your we all have weak points in our application. I tell you for free, we all have weak points. If yours is maybe your GPA was low, find a way to bring it into your essay. Your essay is what brings your story together. So you have to be proactive about using your essay to correct parts of your application that are not so strong, such that by the time your essay is reviewed and another person has reviewed your resume, another person has seen your GPA and GMAT, when it gets to the decision committee of the admissions team, they will bring out parts of it, they will underline, and that's something we used to do. Like I was also an admissions interviewer, I will underline parts of the person's experience that are like, this is kind of weak. By the time it gets to the committee, the essay person has highlighted parts of your experience that counter that weakness. And at the end of the day, you come out overall as a very strong candidate. And because you come out as a strong candidate, you will get very, very good merit-based funding. And that is the best thing for you. Please, as much as possible. I know it's hard. It's a lot of work applying to all these schools. Get merit-based funding. The need-based funding is another story. Sometimes they give you need-based funding. Sometimes you have to write essays and write to request for additional need-based, and we can talk about how you can get that. But for now, just focus on using your essay to get yourself a lot of merit-based funding. So I guess that's my response.
What are you doing? I think you're mute.
Yeah, I'm muted to drink water.
No, I meant the moderator.
Oh man, guys. I told you this is hard. This is really hard.
It is.
Okay. I didn't even go on.
Let me see. I'll probably unmute you, try to unmute you from this end. Let's see if that works. Okay.
I think she's still on mute though.
I'm actually trying to unmute.
Okay.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Great.
Okay,
Sure.
perfect. All right. So I think we have a few questions on the chat. I'll just run through them. Thank you so much for your answers so far. So there's a question that says, what's expected of one video statement as you, okay, sorry, I'm not sure I'm getting this question. What's expected of one on video statements as required by some base schools? So usually, you have
The
this
video
1 minute
essays.
video essays that are like, okay, tell me about yourself. So what is expected in those video essays?
They just want you to voice different parts of your experience. So they will give you a prompt. Many of them, they use these computer systems that sort of like give you prompts and tell you to think about it for 20 seconds, then respond. What's expected of you? I would say my trick, before you go for those video essays, write 3 stories you absolutely want to share. 3 stories that no matter what a business school asks me, I can use this story. I can bend these 3 stories to answer them. That's the trick. Finding those 3 stories, and no matter what, I've done this so many times, no matter what question they ask you, those 3 stories, you can twist them to fit those questions. Now, in terms of like what they expect of you, they want you to sound confident. This image they want for their business school candidates or students, they want you to sound confident. They want you to sound like you know what you're saying, like you know. They want some personality beyond the things that have been written. They want to see a bit more personality from you. So that's kind of like what the expectation is. But in terms of how to get through those video essays, I'll prepare 2-3 stories that I can, because it's very hard for you to think of a good story in 20 seconds when you're under pressure. I'll tell you, that is very hard. And you end up saying or blabbing. So like the best way is to kind of prepare before you go in.
Okay, thank you so much, Doyin. Thank you. I really enjoyed this session, and I know that everyone on this call would have gained 18 or 2 from this session. I think we've come to the end of today's session, but I don't know if you have any closing words to say in terms of MBA essays. Just closing words from you, closing remarks, anything.
Doyin, can you take a few questions before you go?
Oh, yeah, I can.
Okay.
Okay. I think we should take a few questions. Sorry. I just wanted to break in.
Olamide. Yes,
there's
sorry
a
about
couple
that.
of questions here.
Can I what?
Okay, I can't see the questions anymore, so maybe you can take the questions.
Oh, okay, great. Okay,
Yeah.
so I think someone asked what's expected of one on video statements as required.
Yeah, we just
by...
answered that.
Okay, sorry. Let me try.
I can see a couple. What is your advice on preparing for interviews, like admissions interviews? So that one, so I'll tell you this. They don't like to say this, but at the point where they've invited you for an interview, they think you're a good candidate. What you need to do is prove them right. So a couple of things, and I think this is where some of us as Africans struggle. One thing you must do, or try not to do, one thing you should try not to do is to make certain kinds of mistakes. So as an example, like pronouncing the person's name. If the person that comes on during your interview, you don't know how to pronounce Doyin, you should start by saying, "Hi, my name is Doyin. Can you tell me how to pronounce your name?" Don't just assume you know and mess up the person's name. That's one. 2 is gender. Just tiny things like that is how you mess up your MBA interview, because the person would write, because there's a report. I used to be an admissions interviewer. There's something you need to fill. There's a form you need to fill after each interview. The person you would write there that you're not an inclusive person because you saw someone that looks like a woman and you addressed her as she, but she wants to, or they want to be addressed differently. Point being, ask and I make mistakes with this all the time, but people are very forgiving when you ask. Just tiny things, I would say, don't mess it up. Just ask questions. Don't say, for instance, now don't say things that you're not sure about, but maybe from where you are coming from culturally, those things are normal or okay. People here are very different. So don't try to know what to say, basically. That's one. In terms of how to prepare for an admissions interview, the first one is they're going to ask you certain questions that you already know every business school ask. There are like 10 questions that one way or the other they'll ask. They will ask you about failure or something you're not proud of. They will, there are some questions that many schools have asked over and over and over again that are on the internet. Just prepare for those questions. And there's usually one that you were not prepared for, but sort of like try to understand what they are really trying to ask. If they ask you, tell me about a time you failed, what they are really asking you is not about the failure experience. What they're asking you is what you learned from failure and if you take responsibility. So no matter what you say about the time you failed, always say something like, man, I realized I should have done better, or I realized this is what I could have done better, and this is what I now do going forward. That's what they are really asking you. When they ask you, tell me about a time you did something successfully, what they are really asking is, do you acknowledge the other people that supported you in the success? Do you own success? Things like that, like, oh I was really successful because I thought I did this well, and I want to even continue to do this going forward, and I really acknowledge the kind of team that supported me to achieve this success. You need to know that. But bottom line, before you go for that interview, read about the school's mission. All the questions they'll ask you will almost center around their mission and the kind of culture they're trying to create in this school. So you can have examples in your head before you get into the interview, and always have questions for the interviewer. Even if it's just one question, that's okay. But always have questions for them. Yeah, happy to take more questions. There are a couple of questions here, so I'll let you guys choose what you want me to answer.
Yeah, so I can see that there are a couple of questions. Let me just, and I can see it seems like you guys like to drop your questions towards the end of the session. It's okay. Okay, so someone said, hi, Doyin, please, for those without brand name companies, how do we navigate the admission process to top schools?
Oh, that is such an amazing question. Oh, God. Yes, somebody asked that. I also did not have a top name. So that's such a great question, and I can talk about it the whole day. Let me just give you the 1-minute version. If you don't have a brand name on your, on your resume or in your experience, find a way to connect it to what the interviewer or what the school knows. Here's what I'm saying. You're applying to a school in the US, or let's say you're applying to a school in Canada, but you worked in a small company, a small consulting company in Accra, Ghana, right? Small consulting company. Nobody in Ghana even knows them. There are just 5 of you in that company. What you need to do is think through, what is the biggest consulting firm in Canada? The biggest consulting firm in Canada, let's say it's McKinsey, Toronto, something like that, right? You will now tailor your resume, even if you want to mention it in your essay, you have to tailor it to that. Always give context and scale. That's all you should remember, context and scale. Now, when you're talking about that, your small consulting company, what you want to highlight is you know how to start up something. You know how to grow a business. Even though that business wasn't yours, you worked at a small company, you should mention in your resume how you know how to grow something from nothing. You know how to start up something. You understand the challenges, the pain, the growing pains of starting a new company. Things like that are stuff you should mention. But when you're also writing your achievements and say you led a client, you led a deal that was 15,000 cedis, which is not maybe nothing in dollars, or 15,000 naira, which is nothing in dollars, right? But the way you write it is you must, at the end, when you say led a deal worth 15,000 naira, the biggest deal the company has ever had in 5 years. You've given the person an idea of how big that is for you or for the place you're coming from. Another example is I worked at GTB Bank, the biggest bank in Nigeria by market capitalization. Another example, I worked with this nonprofit similar to XXX nonprofit in the US, which is the biggest in the US. Are you getting where I'm going? Always give context. That thing you call small is not small if you know how to write your resume or your essay in a way that people think, man, this person has worked with the equivalent of Bank of America in Nigeria. This person has worked with the equivalent of, this Goldman Sachs or McKinsey in Nigeria. You should always give that context so that you look bigger than you would have looked otherwise. Because if you don't, they'll say, this is not a strong candidate. She doesn't have good experience for this kind of school. Yeah, so that's my response.
Thank you so much. I see another question here. It says, hi, thanks for this session. Please, how can someone craft a why if I'm already in consulting and I hope to continue in consulting post MBA?
Yeah, there are many reasons. So let's say you're already in consulting. And an example, the way you can write your essay is, after 5 years working with clients across different industries in consulting, I've seen myself gravitate towards more tech type of clients. Even though I've had minimal experience working with tech clients, I believe joining McKinsey in Texas will be a great opportunity for me when I graduate, because McKinsey's biggest clients in McKinsey Austin or McKinsey Dallas are tech clients, and I really hope to be in that office once I graduate. That's how you should write it. That's one example. Another example is I've worked in consulting for the past 5 years, and I really figured out that I love consulting. But as I think about my career the next 5 years, I'm thinking more that I want to begin to specialize. However, the current consulting company where I work at, they don't really specialize in supply chain, which is sort of my interest. And I'm hoping business school will prepare me for a career in supply chain, and post business school I can join a bigger consulting firm with a focus on supply chain. There are like 100 examples I can give you right now. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, thank you. Okay.
Franklin. So let me see.
I think you missed the question, Franklin.
Yes, I'm trying to go back up. There's a question here from Chiso that says, so this is kind of like the same question, but slightly different. It says, please, what if you're transitioning from law to do an MBA? How do you tailor your resume and how do you write your essay?
Yeah,
probably like looking about like
the opposite.
Yeah.
I love career switchers, and the school loves you too. That school will only, out of the 2,000 people applying, get 5 people transitioning from law. Think about that for a second, how much of a hot cake you are. The school is getting just 5 people transitioning from law out of thousands of people. So what you need to think about is you are competing with 4 people. And that should sink into your brain. Well, your job is to really, because the school wants you badly. They're going to have very few people transitioning from a career like law or transitioning from being a doctor. You get what I'm saying? So let that sink in for a moment. So all I'm trying to say, because I've met with so many career switchers trying to go into an MBA program, and they wrongfully believe because they don't have a business background, business schools won't want them. It's the opposite. Business schools want you more than they want people with business backgrounds, because they get 96% or 70% of their applicants, depending on the school, have business backgrounds. But you have something different. Only 1% of the applicants probably are transitioning from law. So when you are writing your essay, you need to think about what about my law experience, my experience practicing in the legal profession prepares me for a business. You have to, one thing the MBA teaches you to do is to draw connections. You need to learn how to draw connections. An example, I have been a lawyer for the past 10 years, and I've worked with so many different clients. The biggest or the best deals that I've argued in court have been cases that have things to do with business law. And more, I'm thinking about kind of building a career. Still, you can tell the school you still want to continue in law. More and more, I'm thinking about continuing in my career in law, but focusing more on business law. As I think about this, I do believe I need to have a well-rounded education, something beyond my law degree, something that can expose me to the world of finance, to the world of accounting, to the world of economics. The experience I feel like running a big law firm focused on business law, as someone running such a law firm, I would need to begin to have conversations with the level of clientele that I would have when I graduate. And that's why I want to apply to this program, because your program will help me take classes like XXX that my friend told me that she takes as part of your school. Something like that. You can tell the school you want to continue in law, but this is what an MBA will do for you in that career in future. So I guess that's my response.
Wow, that's so good. Thank you so much, Doyin. Can we take like 2 more questions?
Oh, sure, we can. I have
Okay.
some minutes.
Great. So let me see. Someone asked in the chat if I told a different why when trying to apply to business school, but decided to change my concentration when at the school, would that be a red flag?
No red flag. I'm telling you, the school doesn't check. Listen, guys, like if you read what people wrote in their essays and what they ended up doing, see, it's life. Once you get into that program, they don't even go back to your essay. They don't know what you said. Forget about it. Like, once you get into the program, you've gotten into the program. If you say you wanted to do insurance, in fact, many people say they want to go back to their African country to work, and they end up working in Canada. Whose business? Nobody's checking. Just forget about it. Like, just do what you want. So once you get into the program, just like nobody checks. I'm telling you that no school checks where you end up. It's none of their business.
Wow. So don't be afraid to change your mind, guys.
Yeah, and the MBA program advises you, to switch actually. Like, come confused. When you get into the MBA program, you can figure it out. They don't care.
Yeah, and I can see an overwhelming amount of requests asking if doing reviews essays. So I am going to take the last question, and then you can use that to segue to saying how people can connect with GradBoss and how they can, get in touch with you. So I see someone raise their hand. Chisom, I think I asked your question in the chat. Is that the same question? Okay, I guess it's the same question. Okay. So let me take one more question to make sure that. So Eniola said she was the one who asked the brand name question, but she said her network tripped off at the time when you were answering her question and she missed your response. So if you could just recap that very quickly, I'd really appreciate that.
Yeah, sure, I can. And I recognize there's someone, Michael Adatang, that has been raising their hand.
His hand? Wow,
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so I was saying brand names, don't worry about it. When you're applying, try to always remember 2 words, context and scale. Always give context, whether that's in your resume, whether that's in your essay, give context and show the scale of something you've achieved. And I was giving examples to say, let's say you worked at a small company, no name, even nobody in Lagos knows your firm. We all have those companies in Nigeria that people don't even know their names. They're just 5 people somewhere in Ikeja. It's fine. When you're applying to your program, you need to say, oh, worked with this firm or with this company, and maybe led a 15, let's even say the deal you led in that company is 15,000 naira. Small money. It's not even up to anything dollar. So what you can write in your resume is led a deal worth 15,000 naira, the biggest transaction the company has had in its 5-year history. You've provided some context. You've explained that this may be nothing to you, but it is a big deal where I'm coming from. Do you get? So that's an example of what you need to do. In your essay, when you're writing about your experience or anything, you can say something like you worked at GTB, let's say Guarantee Trust Bank, which is a big bank in Nigeria. Worked at GTB and worked at GTB, which is the biggest bank by market capitalization. It's not, I think it's Zenith Bank or something. But anyway, I'm just giving an example. GTB, which is the biggest bank in Nigeria by market capitalization. When you've done that, the person says that, oh, this is the equivalent of Goldman Sachs for us. This person has basically worked in Goldman Sachs in their country. So you need to always remember context and scale. When you achieve something that is just 10,000 naira, or maybe you achieve something that was 5%, maybe you grew their sales by 5%. You should always say something like, grew sales by 5% within 2021 and 2022, the highest growth, the highest revenue growth the company has seen in 5 years or in 2 years, something like that. Always remember to put that anywhere you write anything. If you don't have a brand name, that kind of gives your experience some credibility.
Thank you so much, Doyin. So we're going to allow Michael to unmute and ask the question, and then Doyin would share how you can get in touch with her. Hi, Michael.
Okay.
Let me see. Okay, Michael.
Hi, Doyin. Good
Hi.
evening
Hello.
from Nigeria.
Hi.
Hi, Franklin. Hi, Olamide. Hi, Ozana. It's a pleasure speaking to you all today. My name is Michael, and I have been very thrilled with this conversation. I would say it's a lifesaver for some of us here. The question I have is on the area of addressing areas of weakness in your application. I think I dropped it at the chat, but I think Franklin kind of skipped it. So my question is with regards to quantitative readiness. I read political science for my undergrad, and I've had work experience in sales and marketing. I know very well that it's not a very quantitative background, and I intend to write the GMAT.
Yeah.
But then beyond the GMAT, I am wondering, would it be very useful to also, add something like MBA maths? Like, to what extent will it help my profile, particularly with regards to merit-based scholarship?
What do you mean by MBA math? Sorry, I don't know what that is.
Okay, so Michael, okay. That's it. So MBA math is kind of like HBX core, like it's like a preparative like MBA foundations course, including like economics and accounting and finance.
Okay.
So I guess he's trying to ask if doing the MBA math would help him to show that quantitative ability.
Yeah, I would say if you're already taking the GMAT and you think you get a high score, especially in your quant part of your math, of your GMAT, then don't bother. Don't bother about it. Don't bother taking any other programs or courses. If you've done the sample test and it looks like the quant part of your GMAT won't be high, now that's where you are reinforcing the red flag they already have about you. And that's where you need to supplement with other things. You can supplement with your experience and say, even though you've been in marketing and all, some marketing teams deal with a lot of sales data, like some sales team. So you need to check in your company on the kind of job you do, if there's a way to kind of, in the next couple of months, lean into doing a bit more data heavy work. You can do that. If all of those things are impossible, consider taking a short course that is very quantitative, and the title of the course is also quantitative, like math, like you mentioned, to kind of boost your profile. But the preference is GMAT, quant being high. The second best preference is your experience. Those courses are like third preference for schools, to be honest.
Well, thank you so much. So much, Doyin,
Great.
for giving your time. So how can people get in touch with you? Because it seems like everyone is so anxious for that. Yes.
I do have a YouTube channel. I can type in what my YouTube
Please,
channel
can you
is.
drop the link in the chat?
Yeah, I can. I have a YouTube channel, so I always like talk about stuff like this there. In terms of reviewing stuff, I right now I'm also like going through like a maternity type of leave. So I don't think that I would be reviewing essays for some time. I think for the next 1 month or so, even though my baby is already like 7 months, but I'm still figuring out my life. Having a child changes your life so much, and my life is still scattered. So that's my response. So I'll say like just follow me on YouTube, and I usually have my email somewhere on YouTube, and you can reach out and I will respond to you if I can review your essay or not, depending on what time you kind of reach out to me or what time of like. But for the next 1 month, I think my life is still up and down and I'm still trying to figure it out. So I guess that's my response.
Thank you so much, Doyin.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time. And before I allow Doyin, the moderator, to wrap up the session, I think Olamide and Doyin has also dropped her YouTube channel. So please get in touch with the YouTube, subscribe. We want to see comments, bombard her, like run up her numbers.
That would
Run
be
up her
nice.
numbers, guys. I like subscribe to her channel, comment on her posts, like the videos that resonate with you. I'm also dropping the link to our link tree so you can see like our resources from Lane on there as well. The recording to this session with Doyin's YouTube channel would also be in the description so that you can take the recording. So if you missed any part of the session, look forward to the recording drops tomorrow, I think, on the City of Lane YouTube channel. So you can find that on our link tree. Thank you so much for joining us, Adedoyin. Okay, we have to do it on the call. So Adedoyin, over to you.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah, that made it fun though. Thank you so much, Doyin, really, for the session. It's been so insightful, and I think Franklin has said it all. If you want to follow Doyin, just check our YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Then also, we also have a YouTube channel for City of Lane where you can check out this video recording, just if you want to like review whatever we've said today. So thank you so much, Doyin, for your time. We really appreciate it. And thanks to everyone that joined on this call. Look forward to seeing you in the next session.
Right. Yeah. Thank you so much, guys. Everyone. I really enjoyed being here, and thanks for inviting me.
Bye. Bye, Doyin.
Bye.
Bye.